We are actually recording now. Everything is.
Are you sure?
Hold on. Yes, I'm sure.
30 minutes.
TikTok, 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 and not the good TikTok.
I'm Josh Sigman.
And I'm Brynn Rouse.
I'm a mortgage guy with a passion for money, business, and elevating my game. Brynn is my co-host. She's my friend and marketing director for my mortgage team.
That's right. I'm a marketing girl, a mama of 3, and wife of 1. And like Josh, elevating life, business, and relationships, well, it's my jam.
This season's topic, elevate your game.
What do you want?
Do you want to push personal limits, find joy, be more present?
Be a better parent, have a sexier marriage, make more money, save more money, start your own business, develop a hobby, or strengthen important relationships?
Impact the world, be a better boss, or create a stronger business? Then you are ready to elevate.
And this is the place to do it.
Are you ready? Sigman Sense Season 3, elevate your game. All right, well, welcome back to an episode of
An episode.
Sigman Sense.
That's the name?
Yep, it's been a minute, and I gotta laugh about it still again because about the last hour I've been laying on the ground over there. I don't feel great today, but
there are no sick days.
there are no sick days, so get your butt in the chair and get back to work, right?
Which makes them a real joy to work for.
No, seriously, energy and enthusiasm is a choice, right?
Yes.
So here we are.
Especially when you have fabulous company.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But today we're going to talk about how to elevate your A game without having a plan B.
And de-elevating your B game.
De-elevating?
Is that a word?
No.
Damn it.
But we'll go with it.
Okay.
We can go ahead and brand that one.
All right.
But yeah, we're going to how to elevate your A game by having no plan B, right? And a couple books come to mind that I've read over the years, a couple stories come to mind, so it's going to be fun to kind of talk about. But there is a book called No Plan B for Your A Game. It's by Bo Easton?
Eason,
Eason, that's right. And the idea behind this, it was kind of highlighted for me. I got to go watch Greg Olson speak years ago. And Greg Olson was a famous tight end for, who was the Carolina Panthers, I believe.
Yep.
And did so for many, many moons. And when I was at some sort of a big seminar, and he was the keynote. And what really stuck out to me was, here's this dude, and he's already been in the business, the NFL, for about 10 years at the time. And that is not normal. You know, the average person doesn't make the NFL. Let's start there. If you do make it, you're on for a year or two, maybe. To have a 10-year career where you're,
as a coach or a player?
No, as a player, as tight end. And, he was getting all this recognition and was, literally every kind of award you could win, he won them. And he's super humble. And one of the things he was talking about in his keynote speech was this concept. And he talks about how he's down in the weight room and he's got all these young people around him, right? Because now he's the old guy. The old guy at the time, he was, 30 is old in the NFL, right?
Right.
Although I guess that myth is being busted right now. But,
yes, it is.
Right. But, he's in there and he's working out with all these young guys and some guys that have been around for 2 or 3 or 4 years. And he said that what he would always hear people talking about while they were in the weight room was, what are you going to do next? How are you going to parlay this success to somebody else? Are you going to go in the bar business, in the restaurant business? Are you going to get, create some apparel?
Yeah. They're
They're all talking about what they're going to do next. And what Greg said is his answer to the young people always was, what are you talking about? This is all there is. Okay. And, I think that mindset really highlights why he was able to do it for so long, right? Because if there is no second, plan B, if this is all that I have, then I might as well go in all the way all the time.
Even if it is a very real reality that it's not going to last forever.
Yeah, his philosophy was it's gonna last as long as possible because what I can do, and obviously you can get an injury at some point, or somebody's eventually better than you in the NFL, right? If that comes along, that's something that's out of his control. But if it had something to do with what was in his control, it wasn't going to be for lack of work ethic and putting in the time and having the right mindset about it, because we can go down the list, and you could equate this to marriages. You could equate this to employees that kind of jump companies over and over and over again. All those things, like I'll use my industry as an example. Okay, I get recruiting calls. Shoot, you get recruiting calls, I'm sure, all the time.
No, I don't.
I get recruiting calls like all the damn time.
I find it highly offensive. I really do. It's an issue for me.
Well, you're worth it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
I just want one. That's all.
Well, we'll see if you answer right. But I get recruiting calls all the time, and the first thing out of my mouth after I coach them on like the sales call, like I'll listen.
You gotta do better.
Well, I always listen. I was like, that was a really good sales pitch. But what I really follow up with is, I'm not recruitable.
Right.
My mindset has always been, I'm not recruitable. I'm not recruitable. I'm not recruitable, because this is what I do. This is who I am. This is the company I choose to be with, and that's it. And I know that if I let 2, 3, 4 recruiters talk sales pitches are different than reality sometimes, right? But I don't want to have that I wonder in the back of my mind of,
right.
I wonder if this company is better. I wonder if I could do more over here. I wonder if we can make more over here. What I want to do is figure out how to do the best with the most that I've got right here, right now, because the devil I know is better than the devil I don't, right?
Yes.
So, I think that you can weave that into marriages, right?
Yes.
There's people that are not recruitable.
Recruitable. I get a lot of calls on this. I get a lot of calls here. No,
Right.
I absolutely I think we've talked about it before. I think people are quick to pull the ripcord on marriages. And I don't know where it comes from for me, but it's just, I, as an adult human, chose you, like
Who's semi-adult human.
who's a semi-adult human, to like lock arms with for the rest of our life, right?
Yep.
And there just is no plan B. There just isn't. It's not something I want to put the kids through. It's not something that
Yep.
I want to do. I don't want to spend all of these years getting Randy like trained up, and then some other girl comes in and she gets all the benefit of my hard work, which is what would happen, by the way. That's exactly what would happen. So it's just, there is no plan B. So
Yep.
What do we have to do to make it work?
Well, and so the piece of the puzzle then becomes, some people naturally have that kind of mindset mentality, and some people need to be taught it. I guarantee that of everyone listening, that 95% right now, 95% of all listeners have their foot in one area of their life or another, like one foot in, one foot out. There's, you think about whether it's spirituality or money and budgeting, or whether it's your work, or whether it's your marriage, or whether it's how you handle family members. We all have something that we're dealing with that it would be so much easier just to walk away. It would be so much easier just to like start over. It'd be so much, maybe the grass is greener over there.
No, it's only greener where you water it.
Oh God. I saw that on like a Hallmark card once.
It's true.
It is true.
It's not greener on the other side.
It is true. You're right.
Greenest where you water it.
That's right. God, you're so emotional. I love it.
I'm so insightful.
So the reason why I think about this is, okay, so it's a real thing that we all struggle with. So let's say that you aren't somebody that woke up and this is who you are and you're always that way. Like you make a decision, that's it. That's the end of it. There are people like that are hardwired, and I argue that they're probably some of the most successful people out there, right? So you can use people. There's another book, right? We talked about Tim Grover before. Tim Grover wrote the book Relentless. And in the book Relentless, it talks about basically the physical trainer that trained Michael Jordan. And then after that, trained like Kobe Bryant.
I mean,
and when he came out of, and I'm not giving him his full title, he's way more than just a physical trainer, sports science or whatever it is. But he comes out of school as call it a 25-year-old. Like he's out of school and he decides to cold call the Chicago Bulls team.
Okay.
Right. So that's not a normal thought process, right?
No, it is not.
But he did, and he called the Chicago Bulls, all the players, and guess who the first person called back was Michael Jordan, right? So his very first client ever was Michael Jordan, according to the book, right? And he was able to, he kind of goes through the stories of what made Michael great, and then what made so many of his other followers so great as well. And you have to start with the mentality of it. There are people that are just mentally stronger, right? Like some of the stories from the book that make me smile are both Kobe and Michael had the same exact experience following a win in the NBA championship, right? So, I imagine that if I won a NBA championship, which I will never do because I'm not athletic, But if I did win,
Well, you're not.
I
Okay.
promise you that night would be a very long night full of lots of bubblies and whiskey, and I would not be getting up for about 12 hours or 15 hours the
Correct.
next day.
That would be the day I mark off proactively.
You
the
would not
next
go to
day.
work, right? But what's interesting is, the trainer comes and knocks on the door while Michael Jordan is celebrating. So picture in the locker room, there's suds and champagne going off, and sorry, Michael, just want to interrupt. What time are we going to get started tomorrow? And the answer was 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, whatever the normal.
I thought it was same time.
The same time,
same
5
time as
or
everything.
6 a.m., whatever the time was that he always works out. He's like,
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow at 5, right?
Yeah.
And, years later, call it 30 years removed, Kobe Bryant was saying the same thing
Same
following
thing.
championships. So there are people that are just mentally tougher and more committed than many of us, myself included, right? Just more mentally tough when it comes to commitments. So then you go to the other end of the spectrum and you say, well, why are so many people so easy to walk away from things? Why is it so hard for them? Like that would be
Yeah.
something I'd like to unravel. What do you think? Why do you think that is?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Okay, so let me start at the beginning, I guess. Probably lack of clarity from the get-go on what they want.
Yep. Purpose. What? Yep.
Like what are, why am I doing this? Well, it's the only job I could get. Maybe entered into something too quickly. We talk a lot about when people set goals, they don't set them with a whole lot of intention. There's a lot of cliches that go on. There's a lot of hey, friend asked you if you want to go, run a 5K, and we just say sure. Zero thought process as to like what that actually means.
Yep.
And what it takes to do that. So I think there's a lack of consideration to what we're committing to first, which then kind of leaves you feeling empty.
Yep.
So you're not fulfilled. And plan B is always an option.
Yep.
Or what else can I do?
Yep.
I would think that would kind of be where it starts. And then I think there's some entitlement that goes on as well. If it's a work situation or it doesn't even matter. The entitlement piece is huge.
Absolutely.
And if you're not feeling like you're getting what you are deserved and owed in whatever scenario, then there's somebody that will do that.
Yep.
And
That's very interesting and well said.
so I think that's kind of, I don't know. Without putting much thought into it before, that is what I would say where it begins.
I don't disagree with it. I would agree first and foremost that having lack of clarity and purpose in what the future looks like is a starting point, right? Like if you don't have any career path or any the extent of the marriage was I got drunk in Vegas, found a girl in Vegas and married her. That's probably not going to work out long term. There was no long term vision set there, right?
Right.
So if there's nothing like that,
But
that
what's
starts
crazy too, though, is they like in college, students are told over and over again, you don't have to know what you want to do. You don't have to know. You can figure it out later. You figure it out in college. You can change your major as many times as you want.
That's the college making more money.
But it's
More
also
classes,
like
yeah.
parents and friends say, and it's like, okay, what you don't understand, and the asterisks are leaving out, is every time you change your major, you lose credits, and you're backing.
You're paying more money,
Yes.
and you're that many more years behind the other friends.
Because the credits don't transfer over to.
What was
the
that
new,
movie that Will Smith just won the Academy Award for? The tennis movie?
Oh, the Serena.
Yeah, Serena Williams one.
Well, I don't.
Well,
remember
the
what that was.
sisters, the Williams.
Yeah.
Well, just
I
think
can't
about that, right? Like they didn't pick up the tennis racket, when they tried out for an 8th grade tennis team, right? The dad, thought of these little girls are going to be world class tennis champions one day, and was training them at like age 4, 5, 6. And so I do agree that the earlier you get started on that path of what is it that you want to do, let's go get that.
Right.
Yes, you can change if you like. So, for example, I don't know. Did you know that I was pre-med?
No.
Yeah, I was pre-med. I thought I was going to be a doctor because my dad's a doctor.
And a photographer. You
Well,
were going
that
to
was
be a
high school,
photographer.
right? Well, marine biologist. Yep.
Along with Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
But
I
you
didn't get the
told me
tattoos.
you told me you were going to go that you were entering college to be a photographer.
Yeah. So I also thought I was going to play football in college too, right? Right. So My point is I mean, it's laughable because I certainly didn't dream of being a mortgage guy or being a public speaker until many years later, right? So my point is it can change, but I've also been, let's just say this, right? I've been at the same company in the same industry for 17, 18 years now.
Yeah.
The same company.
I know I've done one thing.
Right. I've been coached by the same coach for 17 years now.
Yeah.
So you think about the law of 10,000 hours. It gave me a really good chance to be successful just because of time, right?
Yeah.
Putting the time in, mastering the products, mastering the thought processes. Yep.
Dang it, I lost my train of thought. It was something about. Oh well. The moment has passed. It'll come back.
Those are the two ends of the spectrums, right? And I think that you're probably spot on with the lack of purpose or direction, which just goes back to how do you solve that? It's sit down in a quiet space when you're sane and think about what is it that I might want out of my life, right? What is it that I think right now would be something to be fantastic in 5 or 10 years from now, and am I willing to put the work in? We just had a lunch and learn where we're helping some agents with business planning, right? And I had people write down all these goals they had for the year, for next year, for the 2023 year. And they, I said, don't put down one, put down like 8, 9, 10 that are all aligned, but put down a couple of goals together. And then I had said, okay, now that you put them all down, read them. And now that you've read them, are you willing to run through walls to do it or not? Because most people, going back to what you said, even when they take that step of, okay, I'm going to set some goals for myself. There, what's the date I talked about? I read it last year. I think it was January the 23rd. What's famous about January 23rd is
the day everybody has stopped their.
No, it's the day everyone's forgotten.
They
don't even know what their New Year's resolution was. Like, think about that. January 23rd is like the date by which 98% of everyone cannot remember what their New Year's resolution was. Not when they stop doing it. They can't even remember it anymore.
Because they made it on New Year's Eve.
Right. Well, that might be a problem.
It's hard to remember.
Remember I said a quiet, sane, maybe I should say quiet, sane, sober state, right? Add the sober piece in. But yeah, there's a step of what's my purpose and direction. There's the plan behind it, right? The question then is, am I willing to run through walls to do this? Like, does this excite me? Like, is this fun for me? Because there are sick days. We laughed at ourselves at the beginning of this episode where I'm over there laying down, but I know I want to do this long term, right?
Yeah.
So at some point you just say, it doesn't matter how I feel. I'm just going to get up and get back at it because it's part of the long term vision, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's really, really important. But where do you think people falter? Because there's been plenty of people. We lost a couple great employees at our company this year, right? 4 or 5 of them, really great employees this year.
Yeah.
And, we're talking 8 to 10 year employees. So that's a really good employee. So yes, we make mistakes too, right? So these employees specifically, they did take those recruiting calls, right? They, and if I were to ask them a year ago, there was no chance that they were recruitable, but they did finally take it. So one piece of the puzzle that I always believe in is never make a permanent decision emotionally.
Yes.
Never make a permanent decision emotionally. So regardless if they were right or wrong, it was right for them in the moment, but in the moment it was an emotional decision. Yeah. And they made a permanent decision emotionally.
Yeah. I think, I think it really goes back to don't even open the door.
Yep.
Don't even open the door, because once you do, it's hard not to start to think about the things that you're unhappy with, where you're at.
Yep.
Like if you think about marriage, okay, they're all going to be annoying, right? Like they just are. Like you're living with somebody for a very long amount of time in close quarters. Like it's hard, and they're going, yes, you are annoying. to Christy.
Well, I think I'm like she's lucky to get me. Like I feel very, very good that I take
You should just know that you drive her absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I know my pace drives her crazy. For
just the fact that you breathe in and out all day is highly annoying.
That feels harsh to me. That feels a little bit harsh.
I'm trying to make a point.
Okay, Christy. Tell me.
You're breathing too loud. Like the time that Randy told me, I know why it's so hard to work by you. It's because you type so loud.
No, he did not really say that.
Yes, he did. I said, that is called speed. I am a really fast typer, which then led into us.
Typer.
I don't know. I type fast. And which then led us to having a competition. We found the little thing online where you have to write.
That's really funny.
But anyways, if you open the door, okay, your husband's driving you crazy, your wife's driving you crazy, and you go out and there's a hot chick, and surely she doesn't have any annoying tendencies ever at all. Like it.
Well, I'll just say it this way, and this is a true statement for just anyone that has any sexual interest in anybody. Strange is exciting. Strange, just different.
Just different.
Strange is exciting.
Yeah.
So that is a biological trait. Strange is good, right?
And you're like, well, surely that guy would not, snore.
Treat me
loud.
like this. Snores loud, yeah.
Surely he's a more loud typer than my silent typing husband. Surely he can tolerate. So I think, opening the door in any facet is really just where it just has to be a hard no. It's just dangerous because it starts to make you doubt everything that you know to be true. Mm-hmm. And the better salespeople, the better recruiters are going to get in. They're going to get in there. So, yep. I mean, I think.
Well, it's all sales pitch, right? And it's good for everyone to hear, right? I mean, you call somebody 100,000 times, eventually they're going to catch them in a weak moment. It's the truth.
Well, and, a lot of times in recruiting, there's a lot of money thrown around. Mm-hmm. And in a time where money is tight and,
it's a permanent decision emotionally.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So easier said than done though, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, using an example of money is tight and I get that call, right?
Yeah.
So how do you ward that off? What do you
I don't know. I don't get recruiting calls. So somehow you just hide, and nobody calls you to find you.
That's really funny.
And then if you're married, you don't go out.
Well, don't go to Vegas by yourself, right?
Don't go to Vegas by yourself.
Yeah.
Keep your fucking wedding ring on.
Yeah, that's right.
And try not to look as hot as possible all the time.
That's funny.
So people don't come over.
Yeah, I really think about it. What do they say? They say that character is built in the good times and shown in the bad times, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the hardest parts is that, I've always said, and I've read a lot about the idea of you fall back to your lowest level of competence, your lowest level of training.
Yes.
When it gets really tough.
Yeah.
And so the idea of building in some traps to protect you, like I've made the decision years ago that I have about 5 people in business or mentors for my personal life or in my health life that I would never change or do anything without consulting them. So I've got this group of people that I really believe have my best interest in mind. And when I get in a really pissed off state, because I'll get I'll be upset at an employee or upset at my boss or upset at a referring partner for sure, or client. That does happen. And, the testosterone kicks off and, man, I just want to fight. Like, that's just my natural tendency. I just want to fight. And instead, I go back to, I do slow down.
And low.
Yeah, that's when if I slow down my speech pattern and I get really low and quiet, like, please back up 2 steps.
He's not understanding or listening harder.
No.
He's controlling.
I'm trying to control rage. I'm seeing red. I'm controlling rage. But
yes.
But for me, again, by the way, I learned that in anger management, right? You know that I went to anger management.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Don't worry. It was not court ordered. It was not court ordered. I actually opted to go because I knew that I
anonymously called them and said you should make a recruiting call to us.
Yeah. No, I went to anger management because I knew I had a trigger. I was I should say that I was easily triggered.
Easily triggered.
So I wanted to understand what happened and what my response was. And that was one thing they taught me is when you feel triggered, don't get louder, get quieter, slow down.
Is better?
But it goes back to the other piece of my training is I go back to my counsel, right? I seek good counsel.
Yeah.
So a piece of it is seeking good counsel, seek good wisdom, seek people that have been through before, and listen. Like a lot execute what they tell you, right?
Just do what they say.
Like we all know somebody whose spouse cheated on them, for sure. Somebody knows somebody, and they worked it out. It's like, wow, you talk about no plan B. Like I don't know with my trigger I'd be able to do that.
Exercise plan B.
Right, right.
To planning.
Right, mine was a shotgun is how what was my plan B. I'm just joking, I think. I think, Christy.
And then there would be a very different plan A for you.
Right. But I told Christy years ago, I was like, man, please just don't cheat on me. Just divorce me. If you cheat on me, just remember that you'll be dead. No, you'll be dead. I'll be in prison. The kids will be wards of the state. So it's a very selfish act.
It's a very selfish act.
But
so here's where I think we should talk about for a second.
Yep.
So kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have kids, they're invested in a sport or two, but
that's
they're
interesting.
but they're young. And so, like,
that's interesting. Yeah, the
so
15 sports they play. Which one? At what point they dive into one?
Right. And like in Weston's case, like it's baseball first, has been forever. Same with Walker, and now he's being introduced to different sports. He still wants to play baseball. That still is number one. But at what point? Like, what if he decides one day that he doesn't want to play baseball? Like, one, my heart would be crushed. But, like, is that a moment in time thing that he's going through? Do you encourage to stick it out?
Yeah, that's a great question.
You know what I mean?
I have a good answer for this because piano lessons is one, right? So
Okay.
I took piano for 17 years, so I made all three of my kids take piano lessons themselves. And for me, it was I know that it helps your brain develop when it talks to right and left brain when you do any musical instruments, right? So I made them do it, and there's seasons that they love it, and they're super excited to go do like the performance and for Christmas. And there's seasons like I literally hear Christy having to force them to get on, or sit down with the teacher to actually play, right? And so what I do believe is that mentally signing up for a time frame and fulfilling the commitment
For sure.
is a big deal. Here's why. The chances of you picking a time frame, like a date of, I'll relook at this in 6 months, that date being the exact date that you decide, or you're having a bad emotional day, and then choosing to get out of it is unlikely, right?
Yeah.
You're going to
That's
probably have a
good point.
couple days or weeks or months during a 6 month period of time that you're going to be stressed out or pissed off or whatever. But mentally, I committed to May, right? So here's a great example for our company or for our branch, right? So we're in the mortgage industry. It's, you can read any paper and realize that half of the industry has been laid off by the end of 2022. And I haven't laid off anyone in my entire branch. And I'm proud of that. But one of the ways that I was able to do that was I mentally signed up probably in March. I basically told everyone, hey, we're good through January 1st.
It was before that. I mean,
Was it January?
I feel like we went into the year saying that.
So maybe it was January 1st to January 1st. Like I literally went in mentally committing to no matter what, no matter if I lose money in a month or not, or 2 months in a row, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to make sure everyone's employed for the entire year. And so because I had that mental commitment, it'd be really easy if I had looked at a P&L at the end of 1 month and be like, holy crap, we lost a lot of money. We got to go ahead and let 3 people go today. Mm-hmm. That happens. That's what the average experience for the average business person is. And so putting some sort of time frame to everything and fulfilling the commitment, I think is a big piece of it. The 4 agreements, one of the things they talk about is being impeccable with your word. Mm-hmm. So I made that mental agreement, but I also shared it with everyone. Like I've said that to my team, my branch, my students, my realtor partners over and over and over again to reinforce the idea of, Josh, you said, and so there is no plan B. Right.
Right.
And so that is a really great way to do it.
Does it end on January 1st or?
Well, we're going to re-up on January 1st, right? We got to decide on that. I love that question. Who knows?
Just for a personal.
Yeah, no, we're going to sit down. This coming week, we have our business planning. So we'll sit down as managers and decide, this coming week, we'll sit down as managers and decide what the future looks like. So the answer though is that we also created a non-emotional space, right? We're going to sit down as managers and look at the business and the business goals and the business plans and how we're executing and make plans for 2023, right? And to me, that's the big deal. When one of the best tactical ways to remove that plan B is to make sure that all decisions are made based on logic and not necessarily stats, right? Why I say not stats is stats can be tortured. Like what they say, the definition of statistics is to torture numbers till they tell you what you want to see, right? So you can kind of spin numbers however, right?
Yeah, I enjoy that.
I do want data, and I do want logic, and I want reasonable people, and I want to make decisions not in a vacuum, with good counsel, with good strategy behind it, and then see it through. And by doing that repeatedly over and over and over again, it builds that easier backstop to the falling knife, right? Oh my God, things are getting bad. Oh my God, they seem like they're getting worse. Oh my God, I got to make decisions right now.
Right.
No, you don't necessarily have to do it right now.
Yeah, and it allows you to look at the average of the time frame too.
Yep.
6
And
months.
that's how true do you think that is for marriages too, right? Like, if I were to look at the sum of every single day of happiness scale or pissed off scale, right, or average scale, for sure, I would say that most marriages have more good days than bad, way more good days than bad. I would say most marriages, even the divorced ones, most marriages had way more good days than bad. But the bad days in the moment seem like there is no other, like tunnel vision, there is no other option.
Yes.
So I'm going to make a decision right now, and there's no other option than punch in the button.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yes, for sure. So I guess in the example of the kiddos, like if they wanted to quit a sport that they've been working at forever.
Next season.
Like, well, yeah, you would never quit in the middle of the season.
Well, but how many parents let their kids quit in the middle of the season?
I don't know. I do not know any of those people.
Dude, I know. Well, you don't hang out with them. That's good. I've seen an annoying number of people quit shit in the middle of the seasons. It's like,
that is.
What are you teaching your kids?
Yeah, that is unacceptable.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, do not let your kids quit in the middle of the season.
They could be miserable and cry for
and
6 months.
It's okay. And sit the bench. But the commitment is to see it through.
For sure. But going back to having a plan, like, okay, you're thinking about quitting baseball. Let's think about what that looks like. What does that look like in high school? Are you going to play sports in high school? That's always been really important to you. If you take away baseball, are you going to play football? Can you make the football team? Right. And if that falls through, are you going to swim? Because you hate swimming, even though you're good at it. Or are you just going to like join clubs? Or like, what's the plan? So let's figure out a time frame of which you will make this decision. Maybe that's the best.
I love that. Well,
Not that Weston wants to quit, but it's just.
Oh, I love that too. And so it's actually interesting. It's what I think is the best way to help people process grief and help people to process big decisions in general. Because people are, especially when you see big decisions, like I hate my wife, I'm going to get divorced, or I hate my boss, I'm going to get a new job, right? In that moment, that emotion is real for whoever that person is. It's a real emotion. So you can't say you're wrong. Like, you cannot say that. So to me, the strategy is, if you're the person trying to help somebody through that, number one is you have to empathize first. Like, you have to come alongside of them. You have to empathize, validate, sit alongside, sit with them, listen. Don't like interrupt. Let them get it all out. Say, I could totally see why you would feel that way. I think that if I was in that situation, I would feel the same thing. Man, it must really suck to sit on the bench every single, high school game or whatever, right? Yeah. I totally understand why you feel this way. And then the second piece is what you did very well, which is to give more than one option. Because remember, I believe that the reason why people commit suicide, as an example, is there was no other option. It came down to this one point, and that was the only option that they saw. There was no other way out, right? So in the same vein, it's, well, what about A, B, C, or D? I'll give you some great examples. I was up at the core training headquarters yesterday, and I was talking with the sales group, and there's a couple of guys that literally, the question they asked me to help them with is, look, we've got a couple of our students that literally are having to make the business decision of staying coaching or pay for the mortgage, right? Like, it's rough out there for a lot of people, right? And what do we do? And in some cases, it's too late, right? But the question that I would ask really simply is, okay, cool. I get that we're really tight. I understand that. I would feel the same way. I'd probably ask the same question. But which one gives you the best chance of paying the bill next month and paying the bill the following month, right? Because this is a temporary solution that makes it actually harder to turn things around, right? Yeah. And, jumping companies is a great example. Not specific to anyone that I'm referencing. I'm just saying, I hear all the time, it's like, I'm going to change companies. Like, yeah, but your leads don't go up just by changing companies.
Just by changing companies.
Right?
And do you have any idea how disruptive that is
to your business?
To business, like, it's...
And your value is still worth the same or more next year as it is this year. Right, it's the same,
because I am obsessed with marketing. Yep. It's the same thing. Things are tight right now, so we're going to stop marketing. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm like, help me understand the logic there. Like... So you're going to quit the only thing that like has retention around keeping people coming back to you, keeping yourself relevant, keeping yourself top of mind. Yep. You're going to stop all that to try to fix the problem?
Right.
okay.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck. Yeah, I think that all this is something worth continuing in a future podcast as well, because what I really believe is that if you can sit down and look at whatever the problem is that you're dealing with right now, or whatever the perceived problem is you're having right now, if I were to give kind of the takeaways summed up so that you have something to work with, some glue to it, the first thing is it's probably not as big as you think it is, meaning there's probably 100 other good days compared to the one bad moment, right?
Yeah.
Second thing is seek good counsel, look for the wisdom, and listen to them. If you know somebody that's been through that before, has experienced the same challenges before, seek them out, ask them what they did to handle it, and just try that out first. Third one was to give yourself a middle time frame. Like, man, my boss really pissed me off. If he's still pissing me off in 3 months, then I'll look at making a decision of moving.
Yeah,
right?
but you gotta talk to him first.
Absolutely. I'm not saying just be quiet for 3 months. I'm saying like,
just
as
sit back
opposed
and
to
wait for you to piss me off.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, you have to lean in and work on things, of course, right?
Yeah.
But it's not a matter of he pissed me off today, I'm leaving tomorrow. It's like, wow, that sucks. But if I still feel the same way in 90 days,
Right.
that's the time to make a move, right?
Yeah.
Certainly with marriages, man. Certainly, I mean, you only made a vow before God and friends and family, but whatever that means, right?
Whatever that means.
Right. So let's just not jump to the fastest conclusion, and let's go ahead and put some time frame out there and do really real good work with the idea of this is going to work. So I might as well make it work. I'm going to stay married, so I might as well figure out how to make the marriage better.
Yeah.
With those lens on, as opposed to I'll wait to see if he fixes his shit.
Well,
It's
yeah,
a different set of lens.
It is. I remember telling Randy one time, we can live together until eternity, totally miserable,
Yeah.
because I'm not going anywhere. Or we can work on our shit and we can live happily ever after. Which one would you like?
I love that.
Because I'm not fucking going anywhere.
And some of you guys are listening to this saying, "Oh, that sounds exhausting." Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
But it's a better
Yes, it is.
outcome. It's a better
Yes,
outcome
it
more
is.
often. So
Yes, it is.
remember that the fruits usually come 10, 15, 20 years later. It's usually not done at a job with a relationship with a spouse in the first couple of years. The fruits come years later. And so you have to be able to make it through those tough times to really get the best out of your life. So
Agreed.
that's all I have for you. Do you have anything else to add before you
I
let
have
people go?
no plan B. This is all I got.
That's all I got. So better make it work. So sign me up for another year, right? So
Yep.
with that being said, please like, subscribe, share. Please ask questions. If there's any topics you'd like us to cover, please let us know. If you thought this sucked, please let us know. If you thought it was good, please let us know. This is what you get when I'm feeling not that great, but I actually really enjoy this, and I hope you did as well.
It always makes me feel happier and better.
Y'all have a good day.